A reign of terror leading to the arrest of 4 teens.
They put a gun to my employee's head, told him they were going to kill him.
How police shut down their violent robbery spree as they were ramping up. A bomb scare, and this was no false alarm.
He had a lighter in one hand and a tennis ball size explosive device in the other hand.
What led up to an intense confrontation that unfolded on I-90? Fast, furious, and now facing charges. How a joint task force just sent a clear message to illegal street racers. Tonight in the Spotlight.
The Spotlight brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
Well, good evening and thank you for joining us for the Spotlight. I'm David Rose, and we start with some intense moments for law enforcement on I-90 last weekend in King County when a man tried to throw a bomb at officers. Body cam video from Bellevue police captured the confrontation that followed a chase. The video slows down here so you can see what he's trying to do. He has a lighter in one hand and an explosive device in the other. He's trying to light the fuse. Fortunately, officers tackled him before he was able to do it.
As soon as you can, back away, IED.
That suspect is Sokfana Song, who told officers he prefers to be called by his street name, Go-Go. This is a prior booking photo of Go-Go from 2021 that I was able to get. He's being held tonight in jail on $750,000 bail. Here's a look at the device he was trying to detonate. The ATF says it's a tennis ball filled with 50 grams of explosive powder. Go-Go and his passenger were both arrested after a chase that stretched from Bellevue to Mercer Island. As the Spotlight's Dave Detling tells us, the explosive situation caused an hours-long closure for drivers on I-90.
I saw a black Mercedes drive by with popped tires, and then a bunch of cops chased after him.
The car's popped tires were already pretty fishy.
Rich Buchanan and Wayne Gotel were some of the lucky ones not stuck in traffic after a police pursuit onto I-90 and an explosive device making its way onto the roadway.
I knew something was totally wrong when I saw the cops.
They passed by the scene taking pictures.
When we pulled up on the bridge, this right here is the same car we saw earlier.
That crash and what would follow would ultimately lead to this. Cars backed up and lanes shut down for hours, all in the name of safety.
We had a live device when we're arresting the suspect, which made it very dynamic, and we actually then had to care for the suspect's safety and drag him back to a point of safety before we even dealt with the device.
Bellevue police say the situation started earlier in the morning when they responded to Anatai Beach Park for a suspicious vehicle parked with 2 people asleep inside. Under the tires, police placed spike strips.
We attempted to contact the suspects. They fled. Eventually their tires exploded off the car and they were on their rims.
They would lead Bellevue police on a brief chase onto I-90. WSP also getting involved, doing a pit maneuver to stop the Mercedes. When that happened, the driver and passenger bailed, and within minutes of a brief foot chase, Bellevue police say officers saw the driver turn towards them.
He had a lighter in one hand and a tennis ball size explosive device in the other hand, and he was attempting to light this device, and he was attempting to throw it at the officers.
The officers quickly tackled him.
However, the bomb was able to roll off and actually underneath the freeway, and that's when we had to shut down both lanes of the freeway.
Multiple agencies were called in. We're told 2 improvised explosive devices were found, and both were detonated safely by the bomb squad. A third device was a firework.
It's crazy to think like what could have happened with that, and I'm just glad that it, didn't escalate the wrong way. And I'm glad that, law enforcement did what they had to do.
For the Spotlight, I'm Dave Detling.
Those arrests immediately brought to mind 2 other bomb explosion cases. In Bremerton, a bomb exploded in the middle of a street. This happened last Friday near South 116th Street and 1st Avenue South near Evergreen Senior High School. Investigators with the King County Sheriff's Bomb Unit say it was thrown from the balcony or a roof of an apartment building. They believe it was a fuse bomb, but don't know much more because it disintegrated. Detectives say that this explosion was not related to the suspects arrested by Bellevue police. More likely, it's just juveniles behaving badly. We also covered a car bombing near Bremerton earlier this month. Photos from the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office show the damage to a Mercedes. The owner was walking towards the vehicle when it exploded. Detectives say it was a targeted crime and is also not related to the two suspects arrested on I-90. Fortunately, in all of these events, nobody has been hurt.
Open the register! Open it! Open it! Open it!
This robbery at a Renton convenience store, just one terrifying example of a teen crime spree. 4 young suspects have been arrested, accused of 78 violent crimes, including robberies, carjackings, and shootings. The first charges in the crime spree have been filed, and court documents reveal how the binge of felonies finally came to an end. The oldest suspect is 18-year-old John Bailey Johnson. The other suspects in this case, 2 16-year-olds and a 15-year-old. They were all arrested on October 10th. Prosecutors say the group was under surveillance by Seattle police when several of them robbed 2 people in Bellevue, taking their belongings and driving off in their Mercedes. When police caught up with that stolen Mercedes, they say the teens bailed and Johnson tried to bury a gun while hiding behind a blackberry bush. That gun was linked to a recent armed robbery at a Circle K near Seattle University. And that robbery is the first to be charged against one of the 16-year-old suspects. This string of crimes lasted over a month. And investigators say the teens became increasingly more brazen. Police say they started by targeting empty stores at night, eventually going after businesses during daylight hours, armed with illegally modified handguns. Seattle's interim police chief, Surar, says the blatant disregard for the law is part of a surge in teen crime that cannot continue.
I think for too long we have been living in the world of either you treat them like children or you treat them like violent criminals. They are both.
The crimes these teens are accused of were terrifying for the victims. We spoke with the manager of a Subway in South Seattle that was targeted 3 times.
They put a gun to my employee's head, told him they were going to kill him if he didn't open the safe. And he's like, I can't open the safe. That's not, I don't have the combination. They got mad, so they threw that phone against the wall, and then they went in the back and they started ripping all the modem and all equipment off the walls, and they broke our register.
The 18-year-old Bailey Johnson is expected to be arraigned on October 28th. We can expect more charges against him and the other suspects as police and prosecutors continue to work the paperwork on the other 76 cases. Renton police are asking for your help to find this possible serial rapist who may have been committing crimes for more than a decade in the Seattle area. His DNA was found after a 12-year-old girl reported that she was sexually assaulted by him in December of last year. The Spotlight's Jennifer Dowling talked with Renton police, including the specific detective trying to catch that guy, who says they have linked that DNA to a 2009 cold case.
Our goal is to try to prevent, further crimes from occurring.
Renton police are in a race against time to find the man in this sketch whose DNA has now linked him to 2 disturbing crimes.
I would imagine that he's got a propensity for violence.
Most recently in downtown Renton in December 2023, police say he crawled into the window of a young girl's bedroom to assault her.
So the 12-year-old victim had reported that the subject had climbed through her bedroom window and then sexually assaulted her.
Billingsley said the DNA collected as evidence was sent through the CODIS law enforcement database. A match came back to a 2009 sexually motivated robbery case in Seattle. It happened at a home near Southwest Henderson and 9th Avenue.
Well, initially, we had high hopes that the CODIS match would potentially reveal the identity of a subject. Unfortunately, it did not. It just linked the 2 crimes together as the same suspect.
In the 2009 case, an adult was victimized. When police reached out, she helped the FBI create this sketch, describing him as around 30, Hispanic, with dark hair and a 5'8" to 5'10" medium build. He also had facial hair or stubble and a noticeable scar to the side of his mouth. He spoke both Spanish and English, and both victims were Hispanic.
It's been 14 years. Keep in mind he may have more wrinkles, wear glasses, or have gray hair compared to the sketch that's put out.
Billingsley also plans to send the DNA for forensic genealogy testing to try to find the suspect's potential family members. Because there's so much unknown, she says it's urgent to locate him.
Yeah, serial rapes are very uncommon. Most of the time it's a household member or family friend. And so we are taking this very seriously, and again, encouraging everybody to take a good look at this sketch that was completed and let us know if he looks familiar.
For the Spotlight, I'm Jennifer Dowling.
A red Ford Mustang snared in a massive street racing bust in Pierce County. This body cam of the arrest of 2 suspects after a chase. Deputies say that Mustang is one of 30 cars that took off when they busted the illegal racing event in a warehouse parking lot. Well, those arrests last weekend were the work of a joint task force. 13 people taken into custody, 4 guns found, and 6 cars impounded. The Spotlight's A.J. Janavel has a closer look at one of those suspects, also accused of leading authorities on a chase.
Caden Abelli appeared before a judge Monday. He's charged with trying to get away from police.
I will note that the defendant does have a number of driving offenses, including serious speed violations.
Probable cause documents I obtained say Abelli was going more than 85 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone as he tried to flee from a street racing meetup.
We're tracking an aggressive Ford Mustang East 512 from I-5.
With eyes in the sky from Washington State Patrol, deputies backed off from the chase. Abelli reached a dead end, and he and his 15-year-old passenger took off, the documents said. Investigators say Abelli is one of 13 people arrested at Saturday's street racing event. The racers met near Canyon Road East and 192nd Street East. This is about 2 miles away from where 2 people died in a fiery crash related to street racing just in August. A new law passed just this year expanded how the crime is defined to include stunts like drifting, giving law enforcement more options to enforce. And Tacoma police are cracking down. Numbers I obtained from the department show officers have arrested dozens of people connected to street racing just this year. More than 40 of those arrests are for people who were watching the event. The total number of arrests for spectators last year was lower, at 38. In Abelli's case, the judge mentioned concerns for public safety as he set bail at $2,500.
For the Spotlight, I'm A.J. Janavel.
You're looking at the wife of a police officer assaulting a man outside a Falls City bar. The attack caught on surveillance cameras. But this turned into so much more. That woman was arrested, and the officer found himself in hot water after he flashed his badge, lied during a traffic stop, and then tried to pull rank to get his wife released from jail.
That investigation into the Mercer Island police officer uncovered additional misdeeds, including an on-the-clock prank involving a sex toy. The officer has been demoted, but the consequences could be more severe. As the Spotlight's Matthew Smith tells us, he could lose his badge.
I've never seen anything like this ever, actually.
Like most dive bars, the Last Frontier Saloon could tell some stories. Andrew Goodman, a regular, can attest.
It went 0 to 60 in like 5 seconds.
There are few like what was captured on surveillance video last October. This is Goodman being kicked by Jennifer Rogenkamp. The guy next to her is her husband, Mercer Island Police Sergeant Todd Rogenkamp. And if the tuxedo tee didn't tip you off, he's not on official duty. He left a wedding and hit this Falls City bar with friends. But when last call came and went, and when the doors closed, the Rogenkamps found themselves on the rocks with employees outside. Turns out, Mrs. Rogenkamp had left her phone inside, so Mr. Rogenkamp demanded that they open back up.
This badge says I can get in the building. That's verbatim what he said.
That moment appears here on video. The flashing of his badge, just the beginning of his problems. Shortly after that, a kick, an attempted slap, a fall, and yet another kick came from Mrs. Rogenkamp.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Leading Goodman to call the cops on a cop.
Challenged my friend and I to fight because he knew the rule of mutual combat in the state of Washington, which we both declined.
To say awkward would be an understatement.
Justin McMartin is Goodman's friend. He saw the whole ordeal go down.
I don't know how else to describe it. It was just weird.
During that call, Rogenkamp jumped in the back seat of a truck and drove off with another couple. But King County deputies caught up and pulled them over on eastbound I-90. But things only escalated. Deputies say Todd was egging on his friend who was driving the vehicle to take off because of the police pursuit laws. They also say he lied about seeing the assault, calling the deputy a amateur. When asked about flashing his badge, he claimed to be a firefighter, which he isn't. The deputy wrote the Rogenkamps were, quote, clearly inebriated, as displayed by their thick, slurred speech, heavy eyelids, and uncoordinated movements. Deputies booked Mrs. Rogenkamp in the King County Jail in Seattle on an assault charge. Mr. Rogenkamp's boss at the time, Mercer Island Police Chief Ed Holmes, would later write that he was concerned that Rogenkamp drove himself to the jail within 1 hour of being observed by King County deputies as very intoxicated. According to King County jail staff, at roughly 3 a.m., Rogenkamp demanded his wife be released from the facility. But when staff told him he'd have to wait until 7 a.m. to post his wife's bail, he threatened to block the sally port, the controlled entry point. Jail staff documented him saying, quote, "I'm going to sit here and block all the cops coming in." Ultimately, he decided not to block the entrance. And after Mrs. Rogenkamp was bonded out of jail, prosecutors never charged her with a crime. But all of it, the jail, the combative traffic stop, not to mention him flashing his badge, it added up to 9 ethical rules breached, per the Mercer Island internal investigation. Now investigators from Washington's Criminal Justice Training Commission are working to determine whether they'll decertify Rogenkamp, meaning that badge he was flashing would be taken away.
I don't want to speculate like what kind of officer he would be on duty, but if this is off-duty behavior, it makes other officers look bad. It's a badge, not a crown.
The investigation also uncovered text messages and pictures of a phallic sex toy. Turns out, while on the clock as the watch commander, he attached a sex toy to his subordinate officer's cruiser just 7 days prior to the incident in Falls City. An investigator writing, "You then let him drive around the community performing patrol duties in said vehicle for several hours without him knowing the sex toy was attached. Termination was recommended, but per records obtained by Fox 13, Rogenkamp's union argued and succeeded for a lesser punishment, a demotion."
So that was Matthew Smith reporting. And if you're wondering why security didn't just let the officer and his wife back into the bar to get her phone, we're told it's because the alarm was already set and they didn't have the code. The Rogenkamps and the union did not respond for comment on the story. The current Mercer Island police chief tells us the case was submitted to the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission. That commission has the ability to pull an officer's certification, preventing them from being an officer in our state. A small business in Olympia is starting from scratch after thieves stole a rental truck containing all of their merchandise, and it couldn't come at a worse time. The family business makes custom design Halloween items. The truck was stolen while they were traveling between fall festivals and staying at a hotel in Federal Way. The Spotlight's Jennifer Dowling tells us what's next for the family.
Cheap and fun and terrifying.
Liz Anderson loves Halloween and uses her crafting skills to bring her imagination to life.
You take saran wrap and a heat gun and you wrap it and melt it.
She also uses her spooky season creativity in her business, Cutout Creation, PNW.
It's really the biggest beginning of the shopping season.
She prints designs on bags and shirts and tins and custom designs enamel pins to bring Halloween home.
We tend to carry a lot of punny pins, so this is Steve Irwin.
However, this October, the couple began living their own kind of nightmare.
The worst spooky way to start the Halloween season.
She and husband Wes stayed at the Federal Way La Quinta Inn while traveling in between festivals. And their U-Haul truck full of all their creations vanished overnight.
We lost about $60,000 worth of inventory. When we travel, we have our entire business with us.
One of the most horrifying details,
I 3D print these.
Liam Anderson, who makes 3D ghosts for the market, and sister Emily, who makes decorative pens, lost their businesses too.
I lost a lot of my product and the toppers. And the first thing that came to my mind was how did they steal an entire van?
Following the theft, the family decorated for Christmas to lighten the mood.
Feeling of warmth and family and camaraderie.
Ironically, the truck was dropped off by thieves at a U-Haul rental place in Auburn with a tool left on the floor that may have been used in the crime, which Liz keeps on the mantle now next to a lump of coal.
Thought it was fitting if we put it up there with the coal.
Loved ones started a GoFundMe page for the family.
Right now is our biggest time of the year, and we're missing it.
Fortunately, they have a paycheck coming in from Wes's other job as they scramble to make more merchandise for upcoming festivals to make the season more merry and less scary in the weeks ahead.
If we didn't have his job, then we would probably be homeless at the end of this month. Even being a business owner, we still live paycheck to paycheck just like everybody else.
For the Spotlight, I'm Jennifer Dowling.
Caught on camera, a fuel heist goes up in flames along Seattle's Aurora Avenue. Two thieves were trying to siphon gas when a fireball erupted. They escaped in a flaming truck. Their wheels were literally burning rubber. Well, that bungled gas theft dealt a big blow to a family-owned business. The owner of Handy Andy Rent-A-Tool tells us the explosion will set him back $50,000.
The whole interior wall is destroyed. It's probably going to cost over $10,000 to repair this. The other one is completely burnt, the cab, the wiring, it's just totaled.
Oh, like you, I am so sick of these thieves. The explosion happened in the early morning hours of October 6th. The suspects were trying to steal gas from a fleet vehicle of the equipment rental shop. It's not the first time this business has been victimized. The owner says crime on Aurora Avenue has gotten out of control, and he hopes Seattle police step up patrols.
In an 8-day period this month, I was burglarized and lost $10,000 worth of equipment. I've had 5 trucks stolen.
The flaming getaway vehicle was later found abandoned. Police say it was stolen. Anyone with information about this crime should call Seattle police. Well, now, caught on camera, a runaway inflatable pumpkin nearly swallows a police officer in Ohio. This pumpkin was resisting arrest for sure. The Bay Village Department released this dash cam video showing the officer responding to an inflatable pumpkin being blown around across a busy roadway. As the officer walks toward the 15-foot pumpkin, a gust of wind knocks him into it, almost knocks him over. With the help of another officer, they are able to get it off the road and back to the yard where it belongs. The pumpkin owner has promised to tie it down tighter. Just never know what you're going to see when you go out on the next shift. That does it for us tonight on The Spotlight. Until next week, I'm David Rose. Please stay safe.